Thank you, Matt, and thanks for having me. Excited to be here with you. So Radiopharm Theranostics is a startup biotech that is with the potential to be in oncology, focusing on radiopharm theranostic medicine. So as you know, despite progresses in oncology, there are still significant unmet medical need, in particular in disease, in some disease area. You can see in this slide how in some area you still have a poor prognosis. And if we move to the next slide, where we see how big is the oncology market, you can see that we are talking about $290 billion sales in 1 year. The most traditional therapy, the most used are chemotherapy and targeted therapy, accounting for $190 billion. A new important pillar is, of course, immune oncology, and more recently, cell and gene. But what we believe is that there is a fourth pillar emerging with very high promising potential results that are the radiopharmaceutical therapy. And this therapy source of business can be either as monotherapy or in combination to some of these more traditional approach. So what are these radiopharmaceuticals that we were talking before? And in the next slide, you can see like a small animation where the concept is simple. Radiopharmaceuticals are a new approach where you can see the tumor and treat the tumor. What does it mean? You need to have a molecule, a peptide or a monoclonal antibody that is able to selectively target the tumor cells. What you do after that, you add imaging radioisotopes to this molecule. So an isotope with low energy. The medicine is able to enter the patient and to be uploaded exactly where the tumor is, larger tumor or small metastasis. When you identify where the tumor is, you take exactly the same medicine, but you change isotope. You load the medicine with a high energy beta or alpha emitter isotope. And in this case, of course, the drug goes exactly where it was going before as an imaging, but this time is releasing high energy to the tumor cells that create disruption of the tumor DNA. So the concept is simple, but of course, as you can imagine, the technology is not obvious. And in the next slide, you can see how there has been key acquisition in the radiopharma space, exactly because a large company understood the potential value of radiopharmaceutical therapy in oncology. Actually, I was in Novartis in 2018 when we decided to invest $6 billion to acquire two companies, AAA and Endocyte, to enter radiopharmaceutical space. And more companies are doing the same. Equally important, recent IPO in the radiopharmaceutical space are confirming how this area is becoming more and more interesting. So if we move to the next slide, we discussed the environment, but let's share now what and who are behind Radiopharm Theranostics. So we are a startup biotech recently created in February 2021. In Australia. The founder and the executive chairman, Paul Hopper, is very well-known, recognized leader in the space. He was able to create successful biotech that are listed on the ASX. And we, Radiopharm Theranostics, are his last creation. So we were able to raise 20 million Australian dollar in July 21, and quite fast go to IPO in November with a raise of $50 million. Our ticker, the symbol is RAD, R-I-D, and as a company, we have a very important ambition. We have the ambition to become a recognized leader in fighting cancer, leveraging the disruptive innovation of radiopharmaceutical technologies, and in particular in area of high unmet medical need. In the next slide, you can see the executive team. I already introduced myself, 20 plus years in Novartis. In the last 2 roles, I was global head of breast cancer franchise, and more recently, I was leading as chief commercial officer, the radiopharmaceutical division. So it was a perfect opportunity really to learn oncology, specialty pharma, and radiopharmaceutical. And I'm extremely excited to be here in my new role. And proud about my team. So Professor David Mosley, professor of nuclear medicine from New York University, Cornell, Dr. Tom Tulip with very strong experience in supply chain and manufacturing that are very critical element of this sector of the business. And of course, I already mentioned before, our chairman and founder, Paul Oper. So now in the next slide, you can see we start sharing what is our business model. The concept is quite simple. We want to allocate the great majority of the funds that we were able to raise to clinical development, to accelerate our pipeline. So we are very limited, sometimes almost zero structural cost, a small number of people, but very well knowledge. In the field, we have a part-time consultant that help us exactly where we need further support, and a very strong network of people or institution or company that we can really leverage the expertise when it's needed. As I said before, all the investment go to accelerate our pipeline, a pipeline that we build based on the potential to be either first to market or best in class. And we expect to have significant milestone in the next 6, 12, and 24 months. So I mentioned the pipeline, so we can move to the slide where we have Radiopharm Theranostics at a glance. In our pipeline, we have 4 unique assets. The nanomabs, these are single chain monoclonal antibody. We have 4 of them targeting different pathways in oncology. HER2 breast cancer, PD-L1 small cell, non-small cell lung cancer, TROP2 and PTK7. So only the nanomabs has the potential in 4 different indications. Then we have a peptide, alpha, beta, beta-6 integrin. We see the development in pancreatic cancer and head and neck. So 2 very important areas where there is high unmet medical need. The third pillar of our pipeline is PSA-MAB. So it's a monoclonal antibody able to target KLK3 expression in prostate cancer. And our last but not least asset is Pivalate, a small molecule where we see potential in different type of brain cancer. So our asset has multi-indication potential, and that's why we believe we can target at least 8 disease areas within oncology. And what is important as radiopharmaceutical, when you have very selected and differentiated asset and with the potential in multiple disease area, is to link to the right isotope. And that's why we are securing supply of key isotope for our pipeline. We just signed a couple of weeks ago an important agreement with TerraPower for actinium-225, one of the most scarce isotope, and we are very glad to have supply secure, and all the other are very close to final contract. So very confident that we will have the ability of what we need. As a result of this, including a strong collaboration with the institution, our 2022 is a very important year. Of course, we want to continue the trials that are ongoing, but also we want to start 4 new clinical trials. 1 in imaging, and 3 in therapeutic. So let me go to the next slide to show not only 2022, but also 2023. So this year, we expect our first trial readout will be a phase 2 around June, July in patients with brain metastasis. So we are very excited and keen to see these results. The other phase 2 trial will continue, of course, and will read out next year. But as I mentioned before, 2022 is a year of starting 4 new phase 1 trial, 3 of them with a therapeutic. And we start from HER2 breast cancer, PD-L1 non-small cell lung cancer, and prostate cancer. We plan to conduct 2 studies in US and 2 studies in Australia. So as we execute on those trials, of course, we are already planning from 2023. That will be another very important year. Will be a year of 6 trial readout, as well as a year where we will start our second wave of phase 1 trial to be started. So a lot of work, a lot of focus, a lot of commitment from the team. But if you see this picture, we are very confident that we are building one of the deepest pipeline among the radiopharmaceutical company. And we are very excited to bring these products along their development plan and putting all our investment behind those molecules. So in summary, in my last slide, I just want to share, we are in a fast-growing market. Oncology itself is important and growing with $290 billion oncology market today. Radiopharmaceutical has incredible potential in area of high unmet medical need, and there is strong focus in terms of M&A and acquisition. So in this fast-growing market, what Radiopharm is doing? Well, we have and we are building one of the deepest pipeline in terms of breadth and depth. We are already in phase 2, phase 1, and some programs are at the end of preclinical stage with almost 160 patients already dosed with our medicine. We maintain an opportunistic view about business development strategy. And finally, and probably the most important aspect, we have a big ambition, the ambition to improve outcome for patients living with oncological disease. So with this, I really want to thank you for your attention, and back to you, Matt.